Well, good afternoon, everybody. I thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to join us today here for the 2023 State of the School presentation here at the German International School Chicago. We're delighted you are here. On this opening slide of our presentation, just a few impressions from this school year. As you know, we started a little athletic program for our 5th through 8th grade students. So you see a picture here from the fall. Our boys competed in the soccer league against other private schools here in the area. I think it was a great adventure for our kids. We still need to practice a little bit more to be a little bit more competitive, but the kids had a blast doing it. In the middle, just a picture, I believe, of our 2nd grade students at a workshop, at a STEAM workshop, where they get to use the 3D printer. So they, on the computer, design various models that they can then actually print out on this 3D printer. And there is nothing more joyful than seeing the oohs and ahs coming from these younger students when they see it actually being printed. Last picture shows also something new this year, our new climbing wall in the gym. Here you see 1st grade students, 2nd grade students climbing on our wall. Recently, we had an assembly in the lower school on risk taking. I believe climbing on the wall qualifies as taking some risks, and that's a good thing for our students. So let me ground you a little bit in what we will be covering today in this presentation. I'm going to turn it over in just a moment to our chair of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Ebner. But other than that, please expect to hear the following today. A little bit about who we are and what we stand for. We'll talk a little bit about money and the school finances. We'll review a little bit some projects that are really providing great focus for our school. We'll share a few results from the recent community survey, and then we'll end the presentation with some thoughts and comments by our soon-to-be graduates of the German International School Chicago. Time permitting, we'll do some Q&A at the end. Please note this presentation should last around 50-55 minutes. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Ebner. Mr. Ebner, are you here?
I'm here. Thank you, Ben. And I promise this will be the brief and maybe least interesting piece of the presentation today. Today isn't about the board. The board has a very limited role. We don't run the school. We help with strategy, budgets, that kind of thing. Ben and the teachers and the staff run the school. But there are 14 trustees. Here they are. I'm not going to introduce everyone. I will introduce Nicola Broxipa. I see her here today in the window since she's here. Nicola, would you like to say hi? So there's 14 of us. We work behind the scenes, and that's as it should be. But we fully support the school and its mission, and we're going to continue to work quietly in the background, but we're here for questions, and we're going to continue to be available to the community to the extent that there's a need for engagement. Thank you.
So I want to thank you as well, Mr. Ebner. Mr. Ebner, I want to thank you and the entire board also for my recent appointment now as what we like to call the permanent sort of directorship. I have lost that little word interim, and it's making me quite happy, and it's also making me more energized and focused to plan for the future of the school. So thank you again to the board for the trust they have given me in leading the school forward. Thank you so much.
Well, Ben, I'm glad you mentioned that, and that was one of the easiest decisions we ever made, and very glad about that development. As the community knows, Ben is here to stay. We're very excited. Thanks. I'm gonna drop off and fade into the background. Thank you.
Thank you, John. I want to start out maybe with the big picture. This year, we have been trying to be very, very focused on really being clear as to what the value of the education at GISC is all about. And for us, it's a 3+1 proposition. Briefly, international education. Just if you look at the slide and see all the alliances we have with international educational organizations, that alone should be a clue. The International Baccalaureate program is the premier international curriculum. It really uses different cultural educational approaches. Sometimes that's very easily recognized in the diploma examinations, where oral examinations, sort of a French trademark, are a big part. The essays, I suppose, are a very British component to education. And then, yes, from the US, we got some multiple choice also that entered the IB world. But you see also here that we are exploring the notion of working with the German governmental agency called the Zentralstelle für das deutsche Auslandsschulwesen. In short, that is the Central German Office of German Schools Abroad. There are 140 of them, and we'll be talking about that more in this presentation. But if and when, I should maybe just say, when it comes to fruition, we anticipate with that an eventual expansion into the high school years, culminating in the IB diploma program, which there it would take place as a mixed language program, meaning in 11th and 12th grade, our students would sit for the 6 courses of the IB diploma, 3 in German language, 3 in English. And I can't think of a more international sort of educational approach where students engage in high academic work in 2 different languages. The bilingual advantage, sure, it's about all the practical applications of being bilingual. Our kids can go to Germany at any one point and be fluent, be conversant over there. They can talk to their relatives. They can do all these things. They can also earn at our school a Deutsches Sprachdiplom at the end of 8th grade. And this Deutsches Sprachdiplom certifies our students to be so proficient in the German language that they could enter the German school system without having to complete any further testing. But beyond the practical applications of bilingualism, I think we can all agree that in the last 20, 25 years, when neuroscience has really come on stronger and stronger, we have seen so much research and science that clearly shows that being bilingual is a brain expanding attribute. There is research that clearly shows that kids enjoy better executive thinking and functioning skills as a result of being bilingual. Last but not least, we also talk about a global opportunity. For me, this is first and foremost that our kids develop a true understanding, mutual respect and understanding of different cultures, empathy, that they understand that diversity is really a wonderful strength in our world. And I think our students also work very, very collaboratively in their programs here at school, in their classes. And they learn to work with kids from all different kinds of backgrounds, cultural, linguistic, you name it. And I think they understand that the more diverse the participants in a group are, the richer the conversations, the richer the solutions. Last but not least, and we should never lose sight of this, we talk about our sense of community here. I do hope that you parents experience a wonderful, warm sense of community as a result of your kids going here. But most importantly, we want our students to enjoy this wonderful sense of community that is highlighted by a highly personalized classroom approach where clearly the kids know that they belong and that they matter. They have a voice here at school. So that's the sort of quick summary of our core values, if you will. Let's talk about our tuition. As you well know, we recently sent out the new re-enrollment contracts for the next year. And this slide simply gives you a comparison to 4 local benchmark schools. Clearly, in every case, you can see that GIC at all the different grade levels comes in somewhere around 25% lower than any of these other benchmark schools. So while we understand that increases in tuition are always difficult, please note that GISC still is a leader as far as keeping tuitions low. We understand that we are pretty much one of the lowest schools among the private independent schools. We also understand that there are other private schools, primarily faith-based schools, parochial schools, that have tuition values that are lower than ours. I would make the case that our bilingual education and program here alone is worth the increase compared to a parochial education. When we compare our schools also to more regional and or national private school associations, we can see that GIC there too is under the benchmarks. The ISEX is a central states consortium, 15 sort of states in the middle of the country. Chicago clearly being the most expensive market in that association. Still, we come in well below that. And I want you also to know that when we compare our tuition levels to all the other official German ZFA schools, we're also well below their tuitions. Last year, we introduced some tools to make the tuitions a little bit more manageable. We expanded the sibling discount program. We introduced a longevity discount. I think the future considerations for us will be to look at very long and hard at our financial assistance program. We currently offer about $90,000 to families who have a demonstrated financial need. And when I say demonstrated, these families have to submit various tax returns, W-2s, to a third party that then determines what they consider to be fair family contribution. So that's also an invitation for you to apply for our financial assistance. But I think looking into the future, we here both at the administrative and the governance level need to figure out whether it's time to expand the financial assistance program to ensure that our school remains accessible and available to all who are interested despite their financial circumstances. Maybe another consideration to make might be a second longevity discount point. Maybe after completion of a 7th year at the school, maybe there should be another sort of reward for that kind of longevity. Again, we're very actively talking about tuition at the board level, and maybe in years future, we will be more targeted, particularly on the financial aid program. The school budget. So we have a total budget of about $3.8 million. And if you just look at our revenues, you can see that 78% of our revenues are generated by tuition dollars. This is actually a good number when compared to other smaller private schools. They're usually at 80 or above. So obviously, the lower we can keep that number, the better for all of us. Again, makes our school more accessible and available. Now, as far as the expenses, I just want you to know that pretty much one for one, all of your tuition dollars go straight towards our faculty and staff salaries. This is an extraordinary commitment. We are a little bit above benchmarks there as well. But as I'll talk about a little later in the presentation, we have some more work to do in our faculty and staff salaries. So to go back to the revenues, and I want to take a moment to talk about giving to the school, philanthropy. We call it development. This is a very, very accepted normal procedure in many US private schools that the school asks families to contribute above and beyond the tuition to the school. And sometimes there's the benefit that those gifts are then tax deductible, carry with them tax deductible advantages for our families. So we are doing quite well in our overall philanthropic programs, but we're not doing well in participation numbers. Right now, our annual fund stands at about 40% parent participation. We'd really love to see that above 75% because it makes an impression. It makes an impression on potential large donors. It makes an impression on banks for future lending considerations. It makes an impression on foundations, and it makes impressions on corporations that consider funding us, say, for example, at our annual gala event. So I would really be, I just bluntly put, I want to be unapologetic about asking for additional funding for the school. The school needs it. It helps keep tuition low. And we would really encourage you to participate in the annual fund. If you want to, at the end of this presentation, send me a simple email saying I'm in, I will forward that to our development director, and you can then decide the level of gift. So simply email me with the words, I am in. But we can do other measures as well, as far as lessening our dependence on tuition dollars. We can consider additional income revenue producing programs that may be expanding the after school program, maybe a more richer summer program. Maybe we can offer some exchange programs during the summer. These are all revenue producing opportunities. Most important are the two bottom points here, really. We have, for lack of a better term, extra capacity in our middle school. So adding students at our middle school will not carry many new additional costs. And so it behooves us to really maximize our enrollment in the middle school. We'll talk about middle school a little bit later, but we're well on our way of doing this. And then last but not least, we need to maybe consider funding sources coming directly from Germany to the school. And again, this is part of this ZFA conversation we're having. We'll talk about it again a little bit more later in the presentation. But should we become an official ZFA school, there are schools that belong to this network of 140 excellent German schools abroad. There are schools that have as much as 20% of their annual operating budget covered by funding from Germany. So just go back to that pie chart and think of a potential 20% slice directly coming from Germany. So that's obviously a very, very tempting endeavor. So I mentioned our faculty and staff. We have a really wonderful faculty and staff. It is carried by leaders among the faculty and staff, people who have actively built up the school, and you will hear from one or two of them in this presentation. And we also have many new faculty members joining us because we often recruit from Germany, and due to the visa restrictions, these teachers usually can't stay much longer than 3 years when we bring them over on a J1 visa. So in a way that keeps us also very fresh and authentic and up to date with the newest and latest in German education. But this faculty, some of whom have been here at the school almost since day one, we are now at a point where we need to be transparent with our faculty compensation. And we have developed a faculty scale that will be discussed with the faculty and staff later this month, with the hope that we can begin implementing a scale already next year and bringing it all the way up to the letter of the law by the 25-26 school year. You should know that the salaries are benchmarked in this table against ISEX, NIS, as well as specifically the lycée, because we would like to be obviously competitive with the lycée. Very similar mission to ours. It's that bilingual piece, clearly. And so we really, really want to use the lycée scale as a benchmark. It's an investment, and it's an investment in our faculty and staff, which at the end of the day is absolutely to the greatest benefit of our students. We want great teachers here. We want teachers who are experts at managing classrooms, experts in their field, but most importantly, we want teachers who engage with our students, who know how to engage with our students. So Again, this is a strategic imperative, and we're working on it. Clearly, when we're talking about the financial well-being of the school, we're also talking about the enrollment at the school. This is an impressive chart in that in its short history, GISC has always shown growth. These numbers always reflect the total number of students that have been at GISC during an academic year. So while it looks that we will have served by the end of the year 183 students here during this academic year, that's again a little bit of an increase from last year. But clearly, if you look at this chart, you can see that the significant double-digit growth from the early years no longer is feasible. So our growth from here on will be, smaller, single digits. It will be well planned, and frankly, it will need to focus on particularly also our middle school. So there's another consideration, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in the presentation, sort of widening our prospective student pool. We are going to start next year a fast-track German program. I'll explain that in just a little bit, but that's an opportunity for us to increase the students that we can enroll here at GISC. We've had one instance last year of a student in 6th grade joining us with no German language proficiency. And lo and behold, with great engagement by our teachers, by the student herself and her family, this student is now poised to pass the Deutsche Sprachdiplom 1 in 8th grade. It will not be a problem for her. So incredible work there. How is our enrollment distributed? Well, from this slide, I hope you can see that our strategic enrollment targets need to be focused on number one, our preschool. That is our entry point. From there on, everything happens. And we came up a little bit short in our preschool enrollment this year. So we've been very, very focused. And so far for next year, we look better. We've been having very, very good success so far with inquiries for the preschool, and we've already enrolled a significant number of new students for next year in the preschool. But our goal is to be at 49 at the preschool. That's our maximum enrollment in the 3 preschool rooms we have. Even better if we could open a 4th room and get that enrollment near 60 students. Again, the middle school, it has grown. It is now at a record enrollment number. And I believe that 50 students in our middle school is within sight within the next 2 years. And I firmly believe that once we reach 50, the middle school is good to go. And from there on, it will fly. So some work involved in getting to that 50 student number, and we're on it. For future, we also talked briefly about this ZFA alliance. ZFA would indeed imply that we actively plan for a high school, because the ZFA funding becomes guaranteed by German law once we have students graduating from our school with a school leaving diploma, either an Abitur or the IB diploma. And then last but not least, I already mentioned the fast track program. That is a way for us to widen our enrollment in the older grades. I want you to be very clear. Those students will receive plenty of one-on-one or small group instruction, and there will be an additional surcharge of tuition for these families. In addition, I want you to know we will not accept more than 2-3 kids per grade levels between 3 and 6, because clearly if we have more than that, we begin compromising also the German language being spoken within the classroom diligently. And but it is a means for us to maybe increase our enrollment by 10, 11 students over the next few years. And again, we will be pursuing that. This is a very common model that other German schools abroad use. At the recent Heads Conference in Berlin, I learned from other school leaders that sometimes these students who join later turn out to be some of the strongest students that they have graduating. So I am not at all worried about compromising any quality of our educational experience. Next year, GIC will celebrate its 15-year anniversary. The school has come a long way. It's incredible. And this has been a passion project by so many individuals, including the founder of the school, Dr. Annegret Hanneschweger. But we have trustees at our school who go back pretty much to day one. It is an incredible story. But what I want you to see on this slide is the incredible alliance that we have with external educational organizations. This is an external accountability quality management point. We need to demonstrate to these educational institutions that we are worthy of accreditations or authorizations to offer the IB World School programs. If we do the alliance with the ZFA, there too will become yet another external sort of point of accountability. You should know that last year we did enjoy a visit from the regional director of the ZFA, and while unfortunately the report he wrote only remains with the ZFA, I can assure you that the feedback we received both in closed board and administrative sessions, as well as sort of publicly, that we are very, very much at ZFA quality-like school, that our German language learning program is superior at our school. So again, these kinds of external accountability obviously also lead to some external validity, right? We get feedback from these organizations, and this feedback is very, very important to us. It helps us plan for the future. And so I want to walk you through two examples of how this accountability and recommendations from these organizations lead to focus, and then thus lead to academic excellence, ultimately leading to kids thriving in our school. So let's take a look. In 2019, the school underwent a very, very thorough initial ISACS accreditation process. This process left the school with 5 major recommendations, of which you see major recommendation number 1 here in the first blue box. So basically, this team of educators that accredited the school, and there were 10 of them here at the school for a 3-day period, said, you are now ready to enter adolescence, and you need to have a clear vision of where the school is going. And particularly, as you can read here, an outcome-oriented vision. So through 12th grade, obtaining an IB diploma, continuing our allegiance with the IB program, and also really maximizing German proficiency. I already told you about Sprachdiplom 1, Sprachdiplom 2 would then be the equivalent of reaching sort of status to enter the German university system based on German language proficiency. So I want to tell you, ever since I've came to the school, I have been razor focused on this first blue box. This is something very important to me. The second part that you get there, again, from an external sort of validation process, is really a recommendation for us to focus on student agency, meaning we should educate our students to understand and realize that they are the best agents of their own learning. The days of the teacher standing in front of a class for 40, 50 minutes dispensing knowledge, those days are kind of over. And that is a result of, I think, technology to a large degree, right? Getting information now is so easy, but what to do with that information and to apply it and truly to understand and comprehend it, those are where the higher thinking skills take place. And it is critical that kids become the most active part of the learning. And our teachers understand this, they're implementing this, and we'll share with you maybe a specific example. So, however, the first thing we did is we went back to you and assured ourselves that these external recommendations to us also resonate internally with our constituents. And so shortly after I arrived here, we put out a pretty significant survey called the Growth Survey, and we found that 80% of our families clearly gave it a top rating to say, continue with the IB. And I want you to know, should we become a ZFR school, we've already worked it out with them that we will remain an IB program school, and that we will add this Gemischsprachiges, this mixed language IB program in 11th and 12th grades. So no problem, that allegiance with the IB will stay intact even if we become a ZFR school. It's becoming quite popular in the ZFR school network. I think at this point there are close to 40 schools that offer this mixed language IB. By the way, you should know, should we become a ZFR school, we'll be among maybe a handful of schools that have also the PYP program as well as the MYP program, which we will offer. Get to that in a second. The other point in the survey, growth survey, was that 2/3 of you said, yes, pursue that ZFR designation. You told us that is a worthwhile pursuit. So indeed, we have been razor focused on this. And so I'm pleased to tell you that next year we will begin implementing, we will officially become what's called an MYP candidate school. We'll have that status for a few years and then become a fully authorized MYP school. But we can already name ourselves next year an MYP school based on our candidate status. You'll get this presentation later, some useful links here on the MYP, but clearly that middle link, there is absolutely clear academic research showing that IB MYP students outperform non-IB students. It is a superior approach. So please stay tuned for the introduction of the MYP next year. Obviously, that'll be next year in grades 5 through 8. It will take some time to build it up, just like it did for our PYP program. We're looking forward to it. So the other big focus goal is this ZFA membership. As already said, they call themselves die 140 exzellenten Auslandsschulen. It is a special stamp of approval, both by the German Foreign Service as well as the Ministry of the Education Ministers of the various states of Germany. And again, the implication is we would work towards a high school. And once we have the high school, we actually get guaranteed annual funding. At first, initially, it would be voluntary. And the ZFA, I am pleased to say, is interested in adding Chicago to its portfolio of schools. We talked about the introduction then of the mixed language IB diploma. Some other actions you should be aware of, that we will have far greater ease to bring talent in terms of faculty and staff from Germany. The whole visa process will be simplified because we'll be working with the Auswärtige Amt, with the German Foreign Service, and we'll have many more opportunities for professional development and networking. Now you see that one of the conditions indeed is that the director be assigned from Germany to come here for up to a 6 to 8 year term. The board will have selection choices. Usually ZFA puts together a roster of 3 to 5 candidates from which the board then can choose the best fit candidate. I want to assure you this is not going to happen anytime soon. And I also want to assure you when it happens, I plan to stick around for sure to ease this transition and maybe work a little bit more in the background to help the school continue to move forward. But again, this is a number of years away. Maybe most important benefit is also that we will be yet in another network of educators who are in schools just like ours. So just exchanging information and here and there, sort of copying what other schools do. Sometimes we call that straight up stealing. We can do that, but really in the education field, we don't consider it stealing. We consider it flattery when somebody takes something that works really well and does it at their own school. We've now reached a point where I wanted to maybe go a little bit more in detail about our student agency program. Is Frau Koch on this call? Katharina, are you here? No. So I will take a shot at this. So one of the goals was indeed to increase the concept of student agency. And you can see that we have 4 goals related to that. For today, we want to maybe focus just on the goal of student-led conferences in kindergarten through 4th grade. Again, student autonomy is designed to have students understand they are the best agents of their learning. So they need to have a voice in their learning. And having this voice, the ultimate outcome of all of this is that students will just gain confidence in themselves as a learner. And that's what we want. We want young, confident people. So these student-led conferences are, not as easy as it sounds, but our teachers will prepare our students to prepare for conferences to be held with mom and dad. So the old format was teachers straight out reporting to parents. New format is that all 3 will be sitting at a table, and ideally the student will take the lead. So when the student is involved, the student has the opportunity to reflect prior to the conference and then show up at the conference with teacher and mom and dad and sort of say, hey, this is what I've learned. This is how I've grown. Look at this specific piece of work I've completed. So that produces, again, some degree of accountability on the student, right? During this process, students should also learn that maybe they understand some areas where they need to improve in. So they should indeed set some goals along with the teacher, with a lot of guidance from the teacher, and then also report those goals at these student-parent conferences. And again, I think the outcome of that would be transparency, right? Everybody understands sort of what Stefan is working on for the next semester. And then, I think it also just increases the trust that we have in the student to be really the agent of their own learning. Overall outcome, I mentioned self-confidence. Maybe another way of saying that is student empowerment. So this is a really, really important sort of distinguishing mark at our school. And I think we are well on the way, but to some degree, we can still go much, much deeper on this. We also are doing a few student assemblies in our lower school where students, again, reflect on the IB learner profile trait, on traits such as being a risk taker, such as being balanced, such as being open-minded, and they inform each other of how they achieve these kinds of attributes. It's a powerful, powerful model. I want to share with you a few results of our survey that we recently conducted. We do this every year. We call it the Parent Satisfaction Survey. We should have a high rating in this, but yes, almost all of you gave us top ratings in the fact that you believe GISC supports academic achievement. Similarly, high rating for recognizing our faculty as role models and as skillful teachers. Also believe that we take some risks in trying to be a little bit innovative, that we are not just sort of an old-fashioned school, but that we are a little bit future-oriented, and they will also incorporate technology into our learning. Again, having attended the recent conference in Berlin with the school leaders, Digitalisierung is really, GISC is significantly ahead of many other German schools. German schools have not focused so much on the integration of technology, and now during and post-COVID have learned that this is clearly a deficit in German schools. I think we are well ahead of the curve. Simply having a one-on-one program with the iPads and Chromebooks puts us already leaps and bounds ahead. 3/4 of you told us that you believe that our curriculum here and there allows for individualization. This is really hard to achieve, and this is a good rating. Doesn't come out that high in many other schools. Clearly, there are opportunities for us in this current school model for us to really meet some individual needs of students. The next one is really, really important. I told you about those formulas, that academic excellence and feeling safe at school, right? Feeling known, feeling values, know that you belong and matter here at the school is terribly important. And 90% of our families gave us top ratings on that. And then 80% ratings, top ratings for believing that we are preparing your students for future academic success. We're really focused on it. We're working hard in that area. A couple of other ratings. Our preschool shows up very, very strong for preschool academic program. Indeed, they are being grounded in actually quite a powerful phonics-based program where they really begin to learn the German sounds and the corresponding letters with it. There's also obviously some early number skills being introduced, but most of the learning is based in a play and or discovery model. So it's not the drudgery of worksheets, but it's rather through designed activities in the classroom that feel more like play or discovery rather than sitting in front of a worksheet. Towards the other end of the slide, you can see that our language programs rate very, very highly, both in German as well as in English. And then math is just a few percentage points behind, as is STEAM. So continuously improving in those areas. Maybe one day we'll get all plus 90% ratings, but I'm really quite happy with these ratings. So I want to talk about the languages for a second for you to really become grounded in this one more time. Our pre-K part of our school is all about German language acquisition. That's what it's all about. We have a mix of students who arrive in preschool fluent in German and some students who do not speak a word of German. After 2 years of preschool, you would be amazed at what happens. All German-speaking kids will speak fluent English, and the non-German speaking kids will definitely be able to speak and comprehend German. Kindergarten, Vorschule for us, we still accept students without German there, and we have done that traditionally for just about ever since the school existed. We've served them in a program called the Become Bilingual program. And by grade 3 and grade 6, our students achieve without any problems the A1 and A2 proficiency benchmarks of the European framework. It's really an automatic process. And then next year, you can see this fast track program beginning in grade 3. So we are beginning, you can find out more details about that on our website. And we are beginning to talk with a few families about this. And I mentioned the one case of a student who is now in grade 7 who's done well with it. The DSD 1 is the Deutsche Sprachdiplom 1, is offered at 8th grade. It's coming up actually very soon for our students. And historically, all of our students have passed this examination. And then in high school, or let's just say right now, specifically in the Lycée Français, in our partnership program, where our German teachers continue instructing our students in native German language courses within the IB program, The students can earn then this IB bilingual diploma, meaning they will have studied 2 languages, English and German in their case, on a mother language level. So we're very, very pleased to have with us in this presentation Mr. Ulf Hennig. He is one of the builders of our school, has been here for more than 8 years at this point, and really all the credit goes to him for having built up the entire German curriculum, much of the Become Bilingual program, and much of the approach in all of the other classes that we teach in German. And I'm really happy that Ulf joined us. And Ulf, I'll turn this over to you to make a few remarks about the German program.
Of course, thank you very much for your warm words. This is actually my 6th year at the school, but still, I've been a German teacher for over 20 years. And obviously all of you who are here have already made your initial decision in favor of German many years ago because your kids are here. Today, I would like to talk to you a little bit about the benefits of your children continuing to learn German, both here at GISC and then beyond. So one of the reasons you're surely aware of is that it's related to their future careers. Germany is a significant US trading partner with lots of German companies actually present here in the Midwest and across the US. And globally, German is considered the 2nd most important language in science. So the knowledge of German can really give your child a career boost. And having been a German teacher abroad for over 20 years now, I've seen this many, many, many times. I still have alumni from my previous school in London reach out to me telling me that they've landed a job or maybe a promotion because of their German skills. And because their managers or line managers have realized that having mastered a 2nd language to a really high degree has equipped them with very marketable skills. And those you can see on this slide here when it says cognitive abilities. And those I think Ben mentioned earlier too, emotional intelligence, a more creative way of thinking, and overall better problem solving skills. Other than those career reasons though, there is of course, and for me maybe more importantly, the intrinsic value and the beauty of the German language and the cultural concept. We Germans often think of our nation as a land of poets and thinkers, hence the quote here on the slide. And that is something we really try to relate to our students here at GISC. So the kids dive deeply into literature and into cultural studies, beginning with more contemporary authors and then progressing to the classics. And yes, we do read Goethe and Schiller and Kafka and Christa Wolf and Dürrenmatt, et cetera, and we get the kids to enjoy it. As you know, our curriculum is closely aligned with that of the German state of Baden-Württemberg. So all content that students cover over in Germany, our students here at GISC cover as well. And I think that's important to know for those of you who might consider going back to Europe or going back to Germany at some point. Here at the school, we have 3 very big goalposts for German to monitor the students' learning and success. And I think you've seen them on slides before, and Ben has certainly mentioned them. Those are on the bottom of the current slide. So we have the A1 exam in year 3 and the A2 at the end of year 6. And then the big one, which actually happens from the 9th of March this year in year 8, which is the DSD1, the Deutsche Sprachdiplom, which allows successful candidates to join a high school or college prep school in Germany. We've been incredibly successful with all 3 of these exams because our pass rate is 100%. And as the head of department, I'm sorry to boast, but I'm actually really, really proud of that, of our students and of my team, because across the United States, that number is 74%. So you really are buying quality here. No guarantees, but hey. These goalposts are stepping stones really to bigger things. I always want to see that. So what happens after year 8, once the students have graduated from GISC with their DSD1 diploma? I think the most important thing that parents need to know is that all our middle schoolers are really well prepared for any high school in Chicago and beyond. And we've seen that for years. We prepare them intellectually, academically, emotionally, and socially. So whatever high school the student chooses or the family student chooses with the student, that place will be lucky to get them. However, there is no high school in Chicago that offers a German program that makes sense to our students who have come to GISC and who've learned German at a level of native speakers. And that is why 4 years ago, and Ben mentioned this, we have started a cooperation with a local French school. And there, our graduates, so the students who have passed the DSD1 German exam, continue with their German studies at a native speaker level from years 9 through 12. This happens currently with myself as one of the teachers and Katharina Koch for the years 11 and 12. And then at the end of year 12, students leave or can leave with the IB German diploma, which will allow them to study at college or university in Germany. As I said earlier, mastering a second language to a high degree really comes with a head start in life and countless benefits. And if you just look at our school, there are so many of us who are bilingual or trilingual, and we wouldn't have our careers and our lives had it not been for us learning a second or third language to a really, really high degree. One of the benefits, however, that only German gives you is that studying at German university is free. There are no tuition charges for US citizens as long as the candidate has mastered the German language. And that is why we're all here. So look at us as a school, as a wonderful elementary school, a fantastic and growing middle school, but also look beyond. We're already offering something that's quite priceless. And I'd like to close with the one remark. I'm going to send over lots of positive energy to the French school today because one of the IB German diploma examinations is happening now as we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Ulf. Thank you so much. To maybe confirm Ulf's statement that German is a language of science, let me give you this little statistic here. German native speakers have won 92 Nobel Prizes. 22 in physics, 30 in chemistry, 25 in medicine. But maybe to also confirm Ulf's statement about land of poets and thinkers, let me just read off a list of names and maybe you get the idea. Bach, Beethoven, Bonhoeffer, Brahms, Brecht, Buber, Einstein, Freud, Goethe, Grass, Hegel, Heidegger, Kafka, Kant, Mahler, Mann, Marx, Mozart, Nietzsche, Planck, Schubert, Wagner, etc., etc., etc. Last but not least, Ulf also mentioned economic advantages. Absolutely. The German economy is #1 in the European Union and is the #4 economy in the world. So we are in good shape with choosing the German language. So Inka Kirchenbüchler is, I don't think, with us, so I'll just take a quick review of the slides that have to do with our math and STEAM program. I want you to know, as compared to US standards, we have a good read on that. Our MAP scores from 3rd through 8th grade increase exponentially with each and every year, both in language as well as in math. And I believe that has to do with the fact that as kids get a little bit older, middle school age, they get a little bit more abstract in their thinking, and they're beginning to truly be able to analytically look at both languages, compare and contrast, and kind of get better at both languages. And I think that leads to those increase in scores. This year's 8th grade class includes, I believe, 7 students who've been in the same cohort since at least 3rd grade when we start our MAP testing. And each and every one of them shows an upward trend, outperforming the predicted growth scores that MAP had calculated at the onset. So want you to know that this year science instruction in the middle school increased to 3 lessons. And we also want to maybe stress to you one more time that technology is well and alive here at GISC. But I think the beauty of how we use technology is that we don't really use it for the sake of using it. We're using it to enhance the learning. And I will talk in a moment about some of the apps that we also use via technology. STEAM workshops this year are back after sort of a hiatus of COVID, because now we can mix all of our grade levels. You know, I mentioned at the onset that little STEAM workshop second graders are doing with 3D printing. This is a project-based way for kids to grasp a better understanding of science and nature, and it's a wonderful program that we have. The science curriculum, you should know that really, and I forgot to mention that on the slide about languages, we do introduce both in science and English, science and math, some English language component in middle school, maybe 20% of the course. And in science, that happens through this FOSS textbook series. It's a hands-on project-based science program. The kids can read about it in English, but the class is conducted in German. You can, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Technology-wise, let me just show you maybe some of the apps that we see here. The important thing, and well, let me tell you this, I was a firsthand witness this year because I was one of the supervisors of individual learning time. The first 20, 30 minutes of ILT, your students are working on specific learning apps, both in German and in English. And that is curated by their teachers. So that teachers set these programs according to what the kids need. And the benefit of this is that our teachers get another check of understanding, of student understanding on the content that they are teaching. Because these apps clearly spit out very quickly reports on what the kids truly understand and what they may not yet fully understand. So it's very important. In our math program, you can see that Frau Kirchenbüchler has begun this program where we have extra help for students who need a little bit extra push, but also an extra challenge. And again, right now we have a little bit more than 1/3 of our students sort of reaching math levels that sort of are in the excellent area, and give them then access to this more advanced math program that we call Mathe-Zirkel. So maybe I'll close this presentation with really what it's all about. And what it's all about is clearly our kids. And with many apologies to Jan Bruce, who just joined us, I do not have his picture up here. I do have a quote of his at the end of the slide. These are absolutely awesome kids. They will go on and do great things in life. I'm sure of it. And I just want to maybe highlight a few things that they told me when I asked them, you know, what really stands out to you about GISC. You know, when 8th graders say things like, I have options of where I can go, then I'm pretty sure that our kids get it, right? The world is open to them. They have increased options as a result of this education. Student talks about the close-knit community. This is amazing because, again, these kids have been together for multiple years. And yes, do they have occasional spats? I'm sure they do. But do they support each other in the grand scheme of things? You bet they do. Do they work each and every day with each other? Yes, they do. Do they consider each and every one of them to be their friend? Yes, they do. And so sometimes I'm asked, Mr. Hebebrand, is this actually the real world for this few students to be together? Shouldn't they be in a bigger middle school? Well, the bigger middle school these days is about 1,000 students. And I'm going to challenge this real world versus fake world sort of assumption that we have. I believe being one of 1,000 students in a middle school is not the real world. I think that's just somehow a warehouse of students. I'm not on board with that. And I also don't think it's real life, because if you really think about it, later in life, in our work, it's become more and more oriented around teams, maybe teams up to 10 people. You work in a team. And then often these teams change every 18 months with a new project, with a new assignment. So you have to get along with new team members. So this idea of being collaborative and cooperative with each other is terribly important. And, to go back to the spats, in the 1,000 student middle school, if I somehow am a little bit miffed or whatever the case may be, mad, I'll just go sit another cafeteria table at the end of the huge cafeteria. Well, at our school, it doesn't quite work that way. There are only 5 cafeteria tables, and you kind of do have to stick with somebody with whom you may have just had a little bit of a conflict. The point is, you have to work it out. And that is the real world, ladies and gentlemen. Simply to avoid the problems is not the solution. You have to work it out. So a couple other things the kid said here. I might consider studying in Germany. Wonderful. The bilingual curriculum has enriched my life. How many 8th graders do you know who say that? It has been a privilege to learn 2 languages. And then one student who joined us in 1st grade coming from Germany wrote here, GIC has helped me develop my English language skills. So it works the other way around too. Ladies and gentlemen, I've gone a little bit beyond time. I hope you found this interesting. I want you to know we're trying very hard to communicate with you. You receive a weekly Elternbrief. Really pick and choose what you want to read in that. Usually we give you a quick index on top, what's included. You get also weekly newsletters from your preschool teachers, monthly updates from the homeroom teachers, K through 8. I want you to know we recently redesigned our website. It's a great new resource, and it may be coincidence, but since the website has launched, the interest we're getting from abroad for teachers to teach at our school is easily double that what we had last year. So this year we're in a position of having die Qual der Wahl, literal translation meaning a little bit the torture of having choices. In other words, we have options. And that's really, I think our school is gaining traction out there in the international school world, in the German international school world, and that's a wonderful thing. We need your help. The biggest criticism I hear from GIC constituents is, Ben, nobody in Chicago really knows about our school. Well, you are our best spokespersons for the school. I encourage you to share your thoughts and feelings and experiences about GIC with friends, family, work colleagues, and if you're so inclined, do it in a digital manner as well. Last but not least, sometimes I think we are not also quite clear as to all the different resources we have here at school. If you have any question for me, please reach out to me anytime. Really, email is the best way.